Is there supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But I'm never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
Know the reason, but what is the reason why you moved to Houston?
Well, look, first of all, like every time I've experienced Houston, like when I was out here, I ran into random acts of kindness. The people have been good to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the places that I'm like, man, or maybe Houston, like Houston or Miami popped into my head. Mm-hmm. They said 58%. I said, what? You my partner? The IRS is my partner now? Oh no. All you get is a Yankee hat? I'm going to Houston.
Looks like 50 Cent just dropped a straight up bombshell. This drama between him, Jay Prince, and Supreme McGriff's crew goes way deeper than anybody thought. And from what 50's putting out there, things are getting wild. This isn't just some regular rap beef. Nah, it's looking way more serious. People always thought it was just some regular ego stuff, like 50 refusing to check in, and Jay Prince taking it as straight disrespect. But now, 50's going all in, saying there was a real plan to take him out, and he's not holding back on dropping names. The craziest part? He's saying Supreme's own son might be tied up in all of this. And get this, Rick Ross might even be jumping in the mix, connecting with people who've been 50's enemies for years, just to make the situation even messier. With 50 exposing all these secret ties between Jay Prince, Supreme's old school legacy, and all these moves happening in the shadows, it's like we're finally seeing the full picture. Is this the real reason 50 suddenly bounced out of Houston? Was something shady actually going down behind the scenes? Let's get into the real story. This all kicked off in Houston, where Jay Prince basically runs things like he's the king of the whole city. When artists pull up, everyone knows they're supposed to check in. They say it's about respect, but a lot of people see it as straight up pressure, especially since even folks who play by the rules sometimes end up getting hurt anyway. So when 50 Cent moved to Houston, Jay Prince expected him to play the game and follow the street codes.
There's supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But I'm never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
But 50 wasn't having any of that. He refused to check in and made it crystal clear he didn't owe anybody anything. He's got his own security, his own stacks of cash, and he wasn't about to play by rules he doesn't believe in. For Jay Prince, that was the ultimate disrespect. And 50 wasn't just dropping by for a weekend. He really moved in, full-time, making it his home base. At one point, he tweeted, "I love New York, but I live in Houston now." And people started guessing it was all about saving on those taxes, which honestly made sense. But there was way more going on under the surface. New York taxes are wild, and 50's all about his business moves, but trust, there was way more to it than just saving money. He had some major plans lined up. A $20 million G-Unit film studio, big-time alcohol deals, and giving back to schools and the community. He was setting up shop in Houston like a true boss. But here's where it gets spicy. 50 was making all these moves right on Jay Prince's turf, with zero check-in, no green light, and no respect thrown to the so-called gatekeepers. That was bound to make some serious waves.
For me to start a new relationship with Houston, I'm excited about it. Opportunity, I had a lot of fun things for the kids. I think that they're really gonna get a chance to appreciate and enjoy it. And
almost right away, people started talking. Whispers spread that there was pressure getting put on 50 behind the scenes, that certain opportunities just weren't opening up for him, and that folks were keeping a close eye on every move he made. Some even claimed crews were hanging around, waiting to see if he'd mess up. But 50 didn't fold. He just held his ground and pushed even harder. In his eyes, all this check-in talk was just a polite way to say they were trying to shake him down. And honestly, 50 might not be wrong, because even the ones who did check in still found themselves caught up in drama. Look at Takeoff. He checked in and still ended up gone. Jacob the Jeweler got pressed, and even XXXTentacion tried to stay low-key but still got hit. So from 50's point of view, What's the point of handing over cash and power for protection that doesn't even work? He saw straight through it, calling it out as fake security. And after everything he survived, it takes a lot more than threats to scare him. But then, out of nowhere, the energy shifted. 50 suddenly pulled out of Houston without making a scene, shut down the film studio project, and moved everything over to Shreveport, Louisiana. It was a quiet exit, but it said a lot. People started wondering what was really going on. This was the same city that had literally given him a key to the streets. So why bounce now? The real answer came from a single line 50 dropped in an interview. Houston didn't embrace me the way I expected. That said it all. Something major had changed. He didn't feel safe anymore, plain and simple. But even in the middle of all this tension, 50 was still getting honored. He was even the Grand Marshal at the Thanksgiving parade. November 24th was officially crowned as 50 Cent Day in Houston.
So today we have the honor of saying to him, he's our 2022 Grand Marshal. Give it up to Curtis 50 Jackson.
The mayor was out here showing him major love. The whole community was clapping it up for him. But there was one person who definitely wasn't celebrating, Jay Prince. Word behind the scenes was that Jay Prince was heated. From his perspective, 50 was parading through Houston with way too much power, way too much attention, and still refusing to check in. At this point, it wasn't just about respect or fame, it was about control, and 50 was grabbing all of it for himself. But just as things started to cool down, another name hit the mix, Supreme McGriff. And if you know anything about 50's past, you know that's no small deal. Back in the early 2000s, 50 Cent got shot 9 times. A lot of people think Supreme's crew was tied up in that drama. That's the whole reason why 50 dropped the track Ghetto Koran. He was naming names and putting the street legends of Queens on blast. Supreme was one of the big names in that story. Out in the streets, that track wasn't just music. It was seen as straight up snitching, and Supreme didn't take that lightly. Not long after, 50 got shot, but he survived, shot to fame, and used that story to build his entire brand. Meanwhile, Supreme ended up going down hard, getting hit with life in prison. But through everything, Supreme kept it solid. He never flipped, and that loyalty earned him major respect in the streets. On the other hand, 50 kept using that story everywhere. Interviews, rap bars, movies. He flipped all that pain into straight up cash, but Supreme, he never let that slide. He held on to it.
You know, I have the resilience to go against anybody. Like, there's nobody that's too ill. Those are the guys that you would choose not to go against at that point. It's in the environment, they got.
Then you got Irv Gotti jumping into the mix, a major player in all this chaos. Irv wasn't just tight with Supreme. They were basically family. Irv even put up money to help Supreme fight his legal battles. When things got real, Irv never snitched, never turned his back. That loyalty meant the world to Supreme. And 50, he went after Irv hard, shutting down Murder Inc. 50 went all out, took down Ja Rule, left Murder Inc. in the dust. And even after Irv Gotti passed away, 50 was still throwing shade on social media. When news broke that Irv died from a stroke, 50 posted a pic of himself smoking hookah next to a fake gravestone with the caption, "I'm smoking on that Gotti pack. Nah, God bless him. LOL." The day before when the stroke happened, 50 wrote, "Damn, I wanted him to see my new shows." That hit different for a lot of people. Supreme's son, McGriff Jr., wasn't having any of that. He went off on Instagram saying, "If I said I was smoking on your mother and your grandfather pack, people would be telling me I'm wrong, right?" He straight up called 50 a clown and told everyone, "Y'all really love this clown." Well, I'm gonna always give the same energy. Nobody could tell him nothing. For Supreme and his son, Irv was family. So disrespecting Irv was like disrespecting their whole legacy. Now this is where things start getting real heavy. 50 started dropping all kinds of hints online. Cryptic posts, sneak disses, talking about snakes in the grass, and enemies moving in silence. He was basically letting it be known he wasn't blind to everything happening behind his back. Then things got wild. 50 allegedly leaked info showing that J. Prince's crew and Supreme's son were having secret talks. The rumors said they were plotting to set 50 up, push him out the way, put pressure on him, or maybe even worse. 50 didn't try to keep any of this under wraps. He wanted everyone to see exactly what was going down. He even started trolling J. Prince directly, basically daring him to show up and do something. And just when it seemed like the drama couldn't get any hotter, Rick Ross stepped into the scene. Ross and 50 have been locked in beef for years. Lawsuits, family drama, non-stop shots fired. There's no love lost between those two. But lately, Ross got spotted hanging out with folks from Supreme's camp. To most people, it might look random, but to 50, it was way more than that. It looked like Ross was forming an alliance, linking up with the son of the man who tried to take him out. That was a power play, and 50 took it as a straight-up warning.
Easy,
it's for you, man. You the only one in Miami with that, baby.
You know see what it is.
You know the vibes.
You see what it is.
Yeah.
Warming up, nigga. 2024.
Now this is where the whole situation goes next level. Word on the street is that this so-called meetup wasn't just some friendly link-up. It was part of a bigger plan, maybe even a setup to take 50 Cent out. Insiders are buzzing that Supreme McGriff Jr. is done playing cool, especially after 50 kept clowning Irv Gotti online, even after the man passed away. And with J. Prince stepping into the mix, things are getting even more serious. J. Prince isn't just mad about 50 skipping the whole check-in routine. He's reportedly trying to set an example. If 50 can disrespect these so-called street rules and get away with it, then every other rapper might start ignoring check-in culture too. That's a huge threat to how things run in the city, and people like J. Prince aren't just gonna let that slide. Honestly, 50 might want to watch his back for real, because if you dig into J. Prince's past, you start to see just how deep those roots go. He's not some regular music exec. This is a dude with real street history and heavyweight connections. Back in the late 80s, his name was already popping up in federal files. There are even rumors that he had roots running from Mexico into the South, moving serious product through Texas, Louisiana, all the way to Chicago. That's the kind of history that changes the whole game, and it puts 50 in the middle of something way bigger than rap beef. This wasn't some small-time hustle. This was organized worldwide business. Around that time, J. Prince allegedly made moves with Larry Hoover, the founder of the Gangster Disciples. When that connection got locked in, everything in the street shifted. Suddenly, there was a whole pipeline from Houston to the Midwest, and J. Prince was right in the middle of it all.
This was the idea of my father, seeing that it was connections to Drake and Kanye, and that they were such iconic figures, and with them going through things.
Then out of nowhere, Rap-A-Lot Records hit the scene. On the surface, it just looked like a label putting Houston artists on the map. But if you listen to the streets, people were saying it was way more than music. It was a front, a way to clean up all that street money and keep things moving smooth. The feds definitely weren't sleeping on this either. By 1988, the DEA was all over J. Prince and Rap-A-Lot. They launched a full-blown investigation, tracking shipments, tapping phones, watching every move. They were flipping drivers and putting pressure on anybody close. The case they built was serious, but just when it seemed like they were about to shut it all down, the whole thing disappeared into thin air. By the late 1990s, the U.S. Attorney General just dropped the case. No charges, no big headlines, nothing but straight silence. That kind of thing doesn't just happen unless you've got some serious power behind you. Now fast forward to today, and 50 Cent is stepping into territory that's been risky for decades. So what do you think? Is 50 just being paranoid? Or is he warning everyone before something wild really goes down? Is there actually a setup brewing behind the scenes? Or is this all just about ego and power playing out in the open for everyone to see? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think, and you already know the deal. If this saga keeps spinning out of control, we'll be right here breaking it down for you. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the heat. The drama's just getting started. Catch you on the next one.